Hello there, everyone. It is Christy. It is Sunday, and it is Weekend Winters. I hope you are doing well. I am super bright. I'm going to try a slightly lower level of lighting there. Yeah, that seems a little less harsh. How you guys doing? I'm hoping everything, all this looks okay. All right, excellent. I'm a little bit flustered this morning. It's not that I got up late. I just started, like, mucking about with things. There. Hello. How are you guys? Yes, everything here is fine, but I'm just had I'm a bit scatterbrained. That's really what it comes down to. Anyway, it is Sunday. Happy Sunday, wherever it is, whenever it is that you are. Just checking out my audio here. I think I can come up a little bit, just to be a little bit louder for you guys, so just modulate your headphones accordingly. And yeah, there's a belated happy birthday in the chat. DN fan 292. Happy belated birthday to you. Hope it was a lovely one. And yeah, who else has got it? Sib Wolf, hello. Trans Gamer Girl in his Mike. Hello, Mike. And I think that's in terms of who's checked in so far. That's what we got. All right. Well, what a week. I have to say this is the most, gosh, can you say exciting? Eventful, maybe? Eventful post-election period ever. I don't even remember paying attention to the Electoral College in previous elections. I mean, it was like a formality, you know, like there'd be a news story. Hey, today the Electoral College met to formalize the result of the election, and you just go about your day because, you know, no big deal. And now it's become like every step of the process has become this massive issue. Sorry, I'm fixing my makeup. I should have done that before camera. But I am now expecting that there's going to be issues in the House with the Republicans not wanting to accept the results on January 6th when they have to sort of like accept the results into the House. And, you know, it's just all of this attack on our institutions. And so the reason why, it's been a while since we've done a PragerU video. I've got a chopstick here. With a chopstick, because I like eating Asian food with chopsticks. I'm actually quite good at them. But I only have the one here for some reason, and I'm going to use it as a pointer. Tick, tick, tick. What I thought we would do today is kind of get to the underpinnings of the problems to begin with. The one could, gosh, where do we even start with this? It's such a big issue. What we know is that, in general, the more education you have, the more left-wing you will become. Now, that in the States, at least. There's a little bit of a dip there for undergraduates, because a lot of people who get undergraduate degree might go into business or whatever else. But generally, the more education you get, the more to the left you are. That's and the reason for that is multifold. One of the things that characterizes left-wing people is their ability to tolerate ambiguity, to not have a black and white world where this is right and that is wrong, but there's like, it's kind of mixed or it's complicated. Other people feel very uncomfortable with that. And in academia and education, when you have to criticize ideas and you have to consider other people's viewpoints seriously, that really gets you away from the sort of black and white world of this is what we believe and we're right and that's the rest of it and they're wrong. You can't really see things from other people's points of view. And that, I think, the right wing finds very dangerous. Hi, bye, Pagan Man and the Lucky Wanderer. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is. And that is precisely, in my opinion, what it takes to have a healthy democracy, is to, even if you disagree with someone who is reasonable, right? Let's put this down. There's someone who has a reasonable perspective. You can disagree with, reasonable people can disagree. Unreasonable people will just shout you down and lie about you. And lie about what's happening. And that's pretty much what I see PragerU doing. And why I wanted to get back to it is because, so I'm going to talk about myself. I'm going to get caught. It relates to what I want to do with my content going forward in 2021. I've done a lot of these live shows with you guys, and we will get to the PragerU stuff, but let's have a little one-on-one chat here. In 2019 and 2020, I ended up doing quite a lot of video work for my employer, and I ended up creating quite a lot of content and learning a lot of skills. And I guess part of it is if you guys have seen the video I did on this channel with Sargon, just the idea of, you know, using musical scores underneath and different transitions and moving titles, affecting the look of a clip, like making it look like a TV or whatever else kind of effects on it. And in the first part of 2021, I'm going to be doing a lot of like learning and uptake, but not, and you know, my job's changing in where I'm located right now. It's kind of going to be transitioning over 2021 and phasing into something else for 2022. Data enhancement of social science data sets using multiple statistical packages. Not anything you need to worry about. But I have all these skills. And yes, and I want to apply them to a series. And so I was thinking a little bit about how I could do that. And one thing that occurred to me, I know that a couple years ago or a year ago, Sean did a video, How PragerU Lies to You. And I mean, it was a great, it's a huge contribution, like 1 million people have watched it. And he did like 2 other ones and then he sort of just dropped it. Or at least that was all the ones I could find. And it tends to look more at the micro level of content. And what I was thinking, because I think PragerU is seriously dangerous. I think they are a dangerous, dehumanizing, pro-fascist source of content on YouTube. And while people look at it and they sort of understand that it's crap, they might not have a formalized system to explain why it's crap. And yeah, their whole premises are lies. But I think what I was thinking about today and why I kind of want to look at this video is I'd rather than go into an individual video and say, these are all the things that they are doing wrong in this video, I'd like to create some sort of overarching schema, like a bingo card, right? Or a checklist that looks at their logical fallacies or their academic failings or something that's like straight out of a propaganda description. Use that to create a, you know, like a bingo card or something a bit more accessible where you could go, oh, look, PragerU has just said the left thinks something, and yet they've cited absolutely no examples. Tick. And I think that having something super easy like that would be a contribution. Because while Sean's videos were good in terms of little itsy bitsy pieces, I think having a system and explaining the system and then applying the system would be not only something you could do for PragerU, but maybe you could take the PragerU developed one and compare it to like a lotuseaters.com video or a Tim Pool video or something that's slightly more, you know, generic. So yeah, I want to just have a look at, oh, I haven't shown you guys yourself yet. We're just looking at me. I also realized that I don't have my studio mode on, in which, okay, all right, that would work. All right, so I'll send you some random channel. All right, and yes, just confirming, all the music is off here. That's good. Right, so I wanted to, so that's what I'm thinking about for, well, I go on vacation on Wednesday of this week. So I would be able to, I want to finish up, I'm working on a video that is looking at how Sargon and Lotus Eaters types got the election so wrong. How they live in this sort of right-wing bubble, and because they don't look at countervailing facts or evidence, they end up lying to their audience about the credibility or the sustainability or the substantiation ability, is that a word I just made up, of these claims. And as a consequence, when like the Supreme Court, they built up this whole, the Supreme Court, they've got 5 justices that were appointed by Republicans, so they're going to side with Republicans. This is Carl Benjamin's terrible, uneducated reading or interpretation of what the Supreme Court would do, obviously demonstrating he knows nothing about how the courts work in the state. And he goes up there and says, oh yeah, this case has a really good chance because, you know, we've got 5 justices repeating that lie. So this ignoramus goes out and he makes other people who might not have even had an opinion actually less educated and more ignorant than if they just know nothing. If you don't know the answer, I know this is technically considered a wrong answer, but if you don't know something, then at least you're open to the possibility of being taught what it is. If you hold a wrong view, now you have to be proven wrong and change your mind. And so they go and they pitch this crap, this echo chamber, Trump's got a chance crap, and then they don't. And then their viewers are like, what happened? Is the court the deep state? Like, no, the problem isn't the court. The problem is you're listening to an ignoramus. So that was the idea behind the Lotus Eaters one. But then I saw this video. I started watching it, and I'm like, I just want to completely academically destroy PragerU. I want to give people the tools to see what I see in terms of how they lie and manipulate and dehumanize their fascist tactics. And I think, you might go, oh my gosh, Dennis Prager is Jewish. I don't know that that's a get out free clause when it comes to using tactics that are going to end up dehumanizing other people. So, he is using the same kinds of tactics, in my opinion, that fascists and authoritarians have used all over the world to justify murder. Absolutely. The whole point of the right wing is to dehumanize people to the point of making it okay to destroy them, to harm them, to end their lives. And that is, rather than trying to find a way forward, if you think that if your solution is violence, then you don't have a democracy anymore. Hey, Rory Katz. It's been a while. Feels like I haven't seen you for a bit. It's been a minute. All right. And so that is what I'm thinking about picking up as a project. And the idea would be to actually do a more long-term project rather than try to get videos out really quick. So yeah, that might be my resolution for 2021, is to put together a comprehensive series where I analyze the tactics used by PragerU videos on a macro level. And I think they're going to fall into sort of logical fallacies and academic failings. But I don't know, because I have to do the qualitative data analysis by watching it, which is going to... But if I can categorize all of their intellectual manipulations and failings and lies into some sort of system that I can put into a bingo card, then I can take that and then apply it to individual videos to show how it works. So yeah. You've been around but not awake, okay. Actual academic dunks on PU. Yeah, basically. And the thing is, none of this well, you'll see. Okay. Yeah, we'll see. So yeah, let's have a look at this PragerU video, which is just a complete pack of lies. I mean, I don't know that you need to be told that explicitly because it is a PragerU video, but the amount of just, ugh. All right, so yeah, that's what we're going to do today, and it might be a bit probably just about an hour. I have a pretty big session that I've been working on. I've got some other things that I need to do. Actually, I've got a presentation on that I have to do on Monday, and I need to finish it. So I'm working on a Sunday to finish off that presentation, which is just going to be an exercise, I've decided. I want to spend... Oh, it doesn't matter. You guys don't care. All right, so I'm going to put on my headphones so you guys I can listen along. The sound needs to be on. Yep, check. Ticked that box. And I put on the closed captioning too, because I think it helps with the comprehension. All right. Yeah, I think I would love a thorough debunking of F and PragerU. And that's why I think Sean's... Let me take this off because I feel ridiculous. I think Sean's contribution was good, but it wasn't systematic. I think you need a system, some kind of way of making entertaining and educational and accessible, and to internalize some standards, to be able to ask some basic questions. Yeah, Prager cringe. So yeah, all right, cool. I got some good feedback, so thanks for that. And as I said, with 2 weeks of holiday, and Corona, I can't go anywhere. There are no Christmas markets. you know, I mean, other than like maybe walking around outside to get some fresh air and not interacting with other people, I do need time away from work, but I need something to keep my mind occupied while I'm away from work, and so this might be it. Who knows? Maybe if I've got it, the 12 days of Christmas starts after Christmas, right? It runs from like the 26th to the 6th of January or whatever. I don't know if I'll have it done that quickly, but at least maybe the system I can have, and maybe put up some resources like the Debunk PragerU bingo card. I want to make it way more accessible and fun than just a video, and I want to make it a series so that I can like show how it can be applied to multiple. Probably their politics videos, I would have to look at other content to see how much they use the same system. Anyway, so yes, you have to write another blog post while I listen to Miss Christie. What? Okay. You can't write and listen to me at this time. That's impossible. I can't divide my brain like that. What are you doing? The PragerU whiteys? Alright, so this is basically just hate speech, as far as I can see, from PragerU. Alright, I don't know how else to prepare you than that, but we'll go through the misrepresentations and the lies. Here we go.
Why does the left hate Israel?
Just to start. Just to start, he's going to make a declaration that people hate Israel. And do you think he's going to provide any evidence for this? Oh, no. By the way, I was going to say this and then that, and then it came out this. So, you think he has any evidence for this? I don't know what that word is, but that's a word now. Yeah, there you go. Let's just go.
On the surface, it doesn't make sense. Israel is a liberal democracy. It extends full rights to women, to gays, and to its many Arab citizens.
Now, of course, he's completely whitewashed all of the human rights abuses, violations, territorial expansionism, torture, illegal detention, prosecution, all the things that Israel has done. Yes, exactly, said Wolf. The left doesn't hate Israel, the left hates the deep nationalist leadership. Yeah, it is the right-wing expansionist, bigoted, aggressive, human rights denying part of that so-called democracy that people take umbrage with. And you can, yeah. So, I mean, it's just, there's so much to unpack. The lies are so expansive, and this is why we need a better framework, as opposed to getting caught up in the details about which they are lying. What I want my series to do is go, oh, it's this kind of lie that they're telling now. It's the straw man argument, or it's there's a lie, or there's a logical fallacy when I think it's like appeal to motive fallacy, but I'll have to read up on the fallacy. And say, what you're saying is these people have bad motives, therefore you should hate them. And but without providing any evidence, you're just making a declaration that you can read their minds. That kind of stuff. And that's why I think it's better to have a much more overarching category of critique rather than get caught up in the details of every single lie they tell.
Like all countries which are made up of flawed human beings, Israel is flawed.
I don't know, this isn't like a contentious statement. I guess what he's saying is, what he's trying to do is cover for all of the bad things they do without actually acknowledging them. Yeah, maybe the Israelis are just, taking over territory that is supposed to be assigned to people who are Arab Israelis and occupying it and just driving them out so they physically have no place. Yeah, they're flawed. No, that is a systemic violation of stuff. And guilt by association, absolutely. So this seems like it's being reasonable. But what it's really doing is excusing all the bad things that Israel has done without actually, looking at them in any critical way.
But compared to most countries, not to mention its neighbors, It is a civil rights paradise.
Oh, okay. So if the Israelis aren't as bad as its neighbors, then what we should really do is tolerate all the bad things and the human rights violations that they've engaged in and all of their illegal settlement expansions and things like that. Because, oh my gosh, the Arabs are so much worse. Like, no, how about we hold a democracy, a so-called liberal democracy to its own standards? How about we expect better? How about instead of terrorizing people and living in fear? And he's going to talk about Arab terrorism without at all acknowledging all of the terrorist activities, or let's say terrorists, but we'll say violent and suppression of human rights activities that the state of Israel under certain governments has undertaken. You know? So why must I be on live when it's super late or super early? Because this is my one show for the European time zone. That's why, Mel. I mean, I love you. Thank you for coming by. I'm sorry. You can always watch it. I didn't realize that like doing live was maybe what you wanted me to move it to like 4 o'clock, like 4 hours later. I mean, in theory, I could do that, but then I've got like the whole show waiting for me. I don't know. We'll take a vote. Maybe someday I'll do a poll. It's midday. I'm always going to make somebody in some time zone unhappy. All right. Yeah. So basically, it's a relative deprivation that these other Arab countries, brown people, are so much worse. So, you know, by comparison, the fact that they're only violating these kinds of human rights is actually an improvement. That's not how it works.
So why does the left hate Israel?
Again, making a declaration as if it is true rather than demonstrating it. This is one of the ways that they lie to you.
The reason is that the left, and as I always emphasize, I am talking about the left, not about liberals.
I'm talking about left, not about liberals, as if that is an explanation. So, the thing is that when they do these sort of empty signifiers, I'm talking about the left, not liberals. If you're not defining them as the author, the audience just fills in whatever they think those words mean. So this is another way of propagandists make arguments, is that they leave categories very devoid of specific, citable, debatable definitions, because what they want people to do is they want to fill it in with their own confirmation bias. So they're not going to tell you, they're going to leave you to go, oh, okay, so I'm being reasonable. By not criticizing the liberals, I'm only criticizing the left. But the left doesn't have any meaning here. It's just whoever you hate. You can put Nancy Pelosi in that category, and someone else might put her in because she's not, anti-capitalist, into the liberals, and both people are going to think they're right, because Prager doesn't provide a definition. Yeah. His voice comes out of all holes at once. I am a super debater. I smash it. Oh, thank you, Mike. I don't do that many debates. They take a lot of work. It's just 5 a.m. here. Well, thank you, Salvation, for getting up that. I would never get up. I'm sorry, I would never get up at 5 a.m. to listen to somebody's podcast or show live. But that's just me, though. Like, I like watching stuff afterwards. All right.
Is not guided by a moral compass.
Citation needed. Okay, so here is another way that he's going to lie to you, because I've watched this part of the video already, and I'm so infuriated by it. But if you look at Marxist analysis, they are not based in a sort of moral framework. They are an analysis of power. They are an analysis of who has power over whom, and how do they exercise that, and how does that power perpetuate? How did that system of power come into being, and what are the things that can undermine it or strengthen it? Critical theory is analysis of power structures, and I think this is the slide that he wants to make here. Let's just take a look at a definition for critical theory. Critical theory. All right. It's an approach to social philosophy that focuses on reflective assessment and critique of society and culture in order to reveal and challenge power structures. Now, one might automatically assume that that power is somehow demonized in critical theory. That's not the case. I think the problem there is that people have abused power. But critical theorists aren't anti-power. They just want to analyze and look at ways to redress inequities and in the imbalance in power, especially when it's the power of the few privileged over the powers that the many have over the control of their lives. But PragerU can't have that honest discussion about power because they actually like unjustified hierarchy. They like arbitrary systems of power because those arbitrary systems fit the categories they are in. You know, like you say, you know, with Dennis Prager being a white man. Now, I think his background is Jewish, but he still gets by in that white supremacist power structure with his opinions. That doesn't hurt him at all. You know, he's being funded by millionaires, and he's got all of the privileges that come with being older, white, and male. He passes, if you want to say. Sorry, I've had a lot of coffee this morning, and I'm trying to not smack like Carl does. And I'm going to back up a little bit and have my coffee. They can't give a good critique as to why unjustified power structures should be maintained, and therefore they try to change the terms of the debate. They try to say in this video that critical theory is not an analysis of power, it's a moral compass. That's completely wrong. That's a lie. Critical theory is about analyzing power structures and distribution. It's not about determining who's right and wrong or good and bad. Now, there might be some normative, like value-based judgments because you think that power should not be held in the hands of the few. But it's not based on morality. It's based on analysis of power. The difference in time zones makes me happy. We are all, you are all beautiful and valid. Yes, all time zones are beautiful. I love Christy, but would not drag my ass out of bed for her. No, I wouldn't drag my ass out of bed for myself at 5 a.m. So no hate there. Absolutely none. I'm not going to criticize you. I'm going to agree with that. All right. So let's look at how he lies about what critical theory is interested in doing.
It is guided by 3 other compasses: a power compass, a race compass, and a class compass.
What he's going to do is say that when you say someone has power, that means that person is bad. And when someone doesn't have power, that person is good. And no matter what the good person does, they can never be considered bad in this compass setup. And whatever good things a nation does, it can never be seen as good. And that's a complete lie. It's not at all how this works. That's not how any of this works.
Let's begin with the power compass. Instead of evaluating people and nations on the basis of right and wrong or good and evil, the left evaluates them on the basis of weak and strong.
Notice that he's not citing anyone. He's not providing any names. He's not looking at any academic papers. He's not showing any analysis. He's just lying about people. He's just making up lies about the left, which is anything you want it to be. Absolutely anything you want it to be is the left, because he's providing no definition.
If you're weak, you're good. If you're strong, you're bad.
Again, nobody's saying that. It's not like being weak makes you good. It's that power structures are unfair. Like, unjustified hierarchies are unfair, and as human beings, we resist unfairness. We have a sense of justice and the idea of making things right. So if one person has a lot of power at the expense of others, or some people have power at the expense of others, it doesn't mean all the weak people are good, but the weak people are trapped in a system that is harming them. They want to bring it down to the individual instead of looking at the actual structures. Because if we start to critique the structures, they can't justify them. So what's he doing? He's moving the goalpost to say that weak people are good and strong people are bad, when what critical theory looks at is to say the monopoly of power by the strong is is doing these kinds of harms, and it's denying these kinds of benefits to a wider group, and that is good or that is bad. So they can't. This is how they lie. They lie by changing a social analysis of structures to personalizing it to individuals.
Israel is strong, therefore it is bad. America is strong, therefore it is bad.
Again, simple black and white. No ability to think more complex thoughts or to think, well, America has this tremendous power because it's economic advantages. The fact that they stole all their land and resources and got them for free, by exploiting both people and its own territories. And it often bullies and tries to force other countries into doing what it wants. Why can't we just be honest about the fact that America seeking its own self-interest doesn't always mean good things for the rest of the world? Oh no, I have to think.
The Palestinians are regarded as weak. Therefore, they're good.
Again, he's not citing anyone saying all Palestinians are good no matter what they do. Because he can't. Those people don't exist. Liar.
When you're guided by a moral compass, you don't ask who's strong and who's weak. You ask who's morally right and who's morally wrong.
This is a lie. When you're doing an analysis of power, yeah, it might make you uncomfortable, old white man, that you are at the top of a pyramid, a power pyramid, that you've had more advantages that you probably didn't deserve, and that there are other more talented people who probably would have gotten ahead if it wasn't for bigotry, and that you've used your privilege to get things in life unfairly. And that might make you uncomfortable, but it doesn't change the fact that those are the realities of bigotry and white supremacy and patriarchy in operation in America. And in order to preserve that, you want to say anyone who says I got ahead, is calling me morally wrong, as opposed to saying this is how the system benefited you. Now, what are you going to do to make it more equitable? If you straw man other people's arguments, then you don't have to change the power structures. And all of this is smoke and mirrors to get people to think that when the left goes, anyone on the left does a critique, or even on the center, whatever, does a critique, and they're talking about who has power and who doesn't, PragerU wants these lies as opposed to the actual analysis to be what people bring about and think about in terms of their friends. So
50 years ago, Israel was not a big issue for the left. Why? Because it was perceived as weak.
Citation needed. Honestly, he just makes stuff up. He just lies to your face. Look at him lying to your face right now. Even if he thinks that, it's his opinion, it's not a fact, and yet he's declaring it as a fact. And that means he needs, if you want to make a declaration empirically about the world, then you need to be able to cite your evidence for that. And he just lies to you.
But after the 1967 Six-Day War, in which Israel achieved a stunning military victory, it all changed.
Yeah, just one day the left woke up and went, "You're bad!" Again, this is a fairy tale. This is like a fairy tale for 4-year-olds that you tell when you want to raise them up to be white supremacists. That strong is good and powerful, and you shouldn't be ashamed of using violence and unfair hierarchies, and people who complain about it, they just hate you and they're weak and they're morally,
Israel became strong, so Israel became bad. And the Palestinians were weak, so they became good. So no matter how much terror Palestinians engaged in.
So here's another way that Prager dehumanizes and works on a pro-fascist agenda, right? This idea that, the left is going to love Palestinians no matter what they do. They can be terrorists and the left are going to love them. It fails to acknowledge the fact that just like with any other group of people, you're going to have some who are, it's like saying, imagine that you replace Palestinian with 4 white people who vote Republican. And you're going to say that not just right now, Trump voters, But since before Reagan, anyone who fit into this category was basically as much of a terrorist. And if you tried to even think about bringing white allies into anti-racism, that this was a lie or somehow not going to work out because they were white. This is it. So he's going to lie and say that the left basically is willing to wink at terrorism as long as you are perceived as being the person who doesn't have power in the relationship. Which again, he's not citing anyone because he's a liar who is lying to you. And he's not, yeah, so I'll let you watch it.
Hijacking airplanes, murdering 11 Israeli athletes and coaches at the 1972 Munich Olympics.
Notice he doesn't talk about the human rights violations of the state of Israel and what they've done. He doesn't mention those specifically when he talked about Israel, but he will list out this in order to basically equate Palestinians with terrorists and dehumanize them. So.
Blowing up Israelis in pizza parlors and at weddings. The left's position never changed.
Right. So basically, if you don't dehumanize an entire group of people before the acts of a few of that group, then you're bad? Well, let's apply that to white people in America. Does that mean that we should equate all white people, like even myself, with the violence of the far right, with the Boogaloo Boys and the other white supremacist terrorists, domestic terrorists we have running around? I mean, that is the sort of logical equivalence of what he's talking about here. Oh, wait, that requires thinking.
Palestinians good, Israel bad, because the Palestinians were weak and Israel was strong. That's one of the three ways the left judges the world.
But it's not. But it's not. You're not understanding power analysis. You don't understand critical theory. But he doesn't want to understand critical theory because then he would have to actually engage with it. Much easier to lie about a topic than it is to engage with it.
You can test this theory in other ways. Why is the United States bad? Because it's strong.
Again, who says these things? Who says these things? No. I mean, literally, he is just making up an opinion held by this amorphous, nameless, faceless left that you can fill in. And giving ridiculous assertions that have nothing to do with what actual critiques are happening.
And third world countries that oppose the United States are good. Cuba, for example, has been adored by...
God, can we please move on from Cuba? Oh my God, it has been so long. It's such... Oh, they're just so bothered by Cuba. Honestly, dude, that is so 20th century. It's 2020. Nobody under the age of 40 cares about Cuba. I'd be surprised, like, honestly, people under the age of 50 care about Cuba anymore. Like, people don't have this Red Scare that you grew up with, Dennis. You need to move on. You need to let some stuff go. Let some stuff lie in the 20th century. Honestly. Ugh.
The left for decades. Never mind that Cuba's Communist Party has ruined Cuba, that Cuban...
Wait. Like, and what? Systemic white supremacy in the United States hasn't hurt Black Americans? If you really want to, if you really want to talk about a country's history in violence against its own people, can you get more violence than stealing people's land and sticking them on reservations? Can you get more violence than enslaving people for hundreds of years and then basically giving them their legal equality but doing nothing to change their social status and their economic status? No, what's the word I'm looking for? Restitution for the lost labor, for the violence, for the personal injury. I mean, you really want to put up what Cuba did within a couple decades against what the United States has done over centuries, and use the same moral equivalency, the same moral metric to judge these two countries? Honestly, Dennis, you need to turn around and take a look at yourself and then make a change. Woohoo! It's from Lego Batman. Yeah, McCarthy did nothing wrong. Yes, exactly, Transgame.
Cubans have no civil rights, and Cuba is one of the poorest countries in the world.
What about, yeah, and how are civil rights in the United States? I know it's a little bit of a whataboutism, but I'm honestly like, look at your own country first. You want to talk about how terrible things are in Cuba. And one, I don't know about this whole civil rights thing. I do know, for instance, that that as a baby born in Cuba has a better chance than a baby born in America because of our racist health inequalities in terms of performance and outcomes. Black women are more likely to die giving birth in the United States than in Cuba. But I don't see you bringing that up. Where's that concern for people who are citizens of the same country you are? You want to like crap on some developing country? Yeah, well, how don't you hold yourself to those standards? Oh, wait, no. That would require you to do some reflection as opposed to just dehumanization and demonizing people.
Since Cuba is weak, to the left, Cuba is good.
Again, no citations. Get a bing, bing, no citations version of the game of debunking PragerU.
The same was true with North Vietnam in the 1960s.
Oh,
it was considered weak, so it
God.
was good. The U.S.
This
was
guy
strong.
is seriously trapped in the mid-20th century. Like, honestly, no one has a framework for this anymore. Nobody watching YouTube anyway. I mean, honestly, like, there might be some 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds watching YouTube, but honestly, you are, like, get an updated worldview. Come into the 20th century. Talk about issues now. If your only examples exist with Cuba and North Vietnam and your framework is the 1960s, maybe you're the problem. No, actually, you are the problem. Just take out the maybe.
So it was bad. It didn't matter that America was trying to preserve the freedom of the South Vietnamese exactly as it had preserved the freedom of the South Koreans.
Honestly, I don't believe any of this crap. He just lies. So I'm not an expert in Southeast Asian American military history. All right. But all I know is that the French were in Vietnam fighting because of colonialism. And then America picked up the slack when the French left. And we got our asses kicked because we didn't understand how to fight in that situation. We caused a lot of death and a lot of damage and a lot of destruction for no real reason, and we lost. It was an unnecessary, pointless, useless war. And I know that people want to he's trying to like reclaim, oh, we were preserving freedom. Yeah, it didn't happen. That's not how it went.
The U.S. was strong, so it was bad.
Again,
which brings us back to Israel. The stronger Israel gets, as it effectively defends itself, as its economy grows, and as its diplomatic position improves, the more the left hates it.
No. Looking at how Israel abuses human rights and violates international agreements and laws and tries to expand its territory, despite agreements that the Palestinians, the two-state solution, their attempts to undermine it is why they are criticized. And of course he wants to make it hate because hate is irrational. The idea that the left might actually have a valid critique against the anti-democratic, anti-human rights policies of the state of Israel when it's under reactionary types, corrupt pieces of crap like Netanyahu. He wants to say, oh, you're just being Israeli. Like, no, there are valid criticisms that would be applied to other democracies. They were doing the same thing. Oh, God, slavery video. Yeah, he probably has done a slavery video. Wouldn't be surprised if he justified it.
The second of the left's compasses, the race compass, is another reason the left hates Israel. Just as it substitutes weak and strong for good and evil, the left substitutes non-white and white for good and evil.
No, again, we're talking about power structures. Dennis Prager is an uneducated moron. What we're looking at is a critique of white supremacist power structures, like apartheid, like the American apartheid system, like the European racist systems. You had people who came in, they occupied areas, dominated, took out the resources to make themselves rich at the expense of others, and then that power structure gets reproduced by the next generations because they pass on, the white people pass on their wealth and white people pass on their hold on power. They pass on their bigoted attitudes. And as a consequence, other people are oppressed for white privilege. And that system hurts people. So again, Dennis Prager can't deal with the truth because that would show that the power and influence that he has acquired in his lifetime has been as a consequence of an unjustified hierarchy. He didn't deserve or earn everything he got. He got a lot of where he got to because of the privileges that came at other people's expense.
The left doesn't judge people by their actions, but by their race.
God, again, the lies. The lies! The lies! Right? The left criticize, people on the left, I would say the left, as if it was a person. People on the left criticize Candace Owens. People on the left criticize Kanye. Right? People on the left, criticize lots of people that they just disagree with. So again, you're lying, Dennis. You're a liar. You're a big fat liar face. And I just gotta ask, why you gotta lie if the truth is on your side? Surely if the truth was on your side, you wouldn't have to, you would have quotes. You would have evidence. You could back stuff up. Instead of just having this sort of sexist, patriarchal, homophobic, transphobic, bigoted, anti-progressive, anti-democratic, pro-hierarchical, pro-supremacy, pro-white privilege worldview that you're pushing here.
That's why, for example, the left asserts that a black person cannot be a racist.
There's a difference between individuals holding bigoted views and individuals participating in and benefiting from systems of power designed to privilege a racial group over another. So again, it's a misrepresentation because you can't handle the truth, Dennis. You can't handle the truth. Just every time he makes an assertion about what someone says or thinks, I think that's got to be a point on the scorecard. Maybe it'd be instead of a bingo card, maybe it'd be a race game. 4 categories of lies, and then you move it to see how, which one wins. Which of the 4 categories of lies can you move through to see how many? The more you get in a video is what wins. I don't know. I'm brainstorming here.
Only a white person can be a racist, and that provides the second reason Israel is labeled evil. Israelis are considered white.
What? Effing what? What? Oh God. Again, the lies. It's just lies. Israelis are considered, all Israel, look, for me, in terms of it's not up to me to determine whether someone identifies, how they identify or choose to express their Jewish heritage. Again, unless someone is wearing something obviously, a display, a yarmulke or some sort of religious paraphernalia, there are a lot of people who I just assume are white, who have some Jewish background, and that doesn't make them it's a complicated issue because white Jewish is a thing, especially with conversions and stuff. But the idea that I think of all Israelis as white, just no. If anything, I kind of tend to farm it off a little bit to sort of a European thing. So, Jewish people have deep Middle Eastern histories, and they also have Russian histories, and they, as a diaspora, they've been all over the world. So to sort of equate them with the same kind of waspy privileges that European whites have isn't the case. But it's just, some ambiguity. Yes, and it is super complicated, and I think too, it's complicated because we're using a word, Jewish, to describe a history, a culture, a sort of an ethnic group, and a people. So what are you talking about? The culture? Are you talking about genes? Are you talking about identification? It is a very unique situation because there isn't another group that that so has such a deep history and is like, you know, like I said, language, culture, ethnic background, and you know, everything else that goes along with it. But the idea, can I just counter this idea? I don't know anyone who says all Israelis are white. I don't. I just like, this is another lie to me. I don't know of anybody. And even if one person said it, it doesn't mean the left thinks anything. The left isn't a person. It's a fantasy.
And Palestinians are not white. Never mind that more than half of Israel's population is not white.
I don't know if he thinks that's a gotcha there, but honestly, it doesn't actually make that much sense. And again, he's not putting any evidence on here. Does anyone actually thinks this? Or there might be some random on Twitter who thinks that, but again, like, what is the impact of one random person's opinion?
The result? The left essentially ignores Palestinian terror and loudly condemns Israel's responses to terror.
This is just, I'm sorry, this is typical as like Zionist way of spinning things. You know, there's a reason for me personally why I don't tend to dip my toe in the Palestinian-Israeli debate. And that's because I acknowledge there are good things and bad things and terror and human rights violations and betrayals and promises made and some kept and unkept on both sides. There are no good people, bad people categories that you can just put the Israeli-Palestinian issue into. And it's within the larger context of the Arab-Israeli geographical issue. I do condemn acts of terror. I don't know anyone who says we can just let Palestinians can do whatever they want. There might be, I don't know, some, but he's not giving any evidence. He's just saying everybody on the left thinks that. And that's just not true. Just not true. What about Israeli terror they employed to take the country? Again, yeah, this has been a back and forth, back and forth. It's been a fight over land for a very long time, going all the way back to the Roman occupation and before that, if I'm honest, in terms of atrocities committed in order to maintain political hold over over geography. But there's, you know, that's like saying there's no difference between, here, if you just took out all the information you had about the American Revolution and you saw Americans and, you know, some people like, you know, killing British and some slaves that they enslaved people that they had brought on board fighting the Americans, you're like, wow, the Brits are actually freeing enslaved peoples while trying to maintain a monarchy, while these people who are the small group of white guys who own property are fighting for their rights but nobody else's. Obviously, Americans are incredibly biased when it comes to the moral ambiguity in that contest, but if you step back from it, there are problems on both sides. Like, how can you be a nation of slavery and fighting only for the rights of the slaveholders and think you're moral? On the other hand, how can you be a monarchy to say, you know, and think that you're going to be the best form of government? And yeah, you're freeing some enslaved people, but you're only doing that in order to undermine this attempt at democracy. And I feel that there's a lot of that with the Palestinian-Israeli question, because there's both sides of it. So it's not that Israel is always, the Israelis' policies are always bad and the Palestinian governments that are acting and groups are always bad. It's complicated, like life.
Now to the left's third compass.
By the way, he's not citing anybody for this. This is all made up in his head. There are no compasses. He's trying to equate critical theory with a compass because it's simpler. And it's not even a compass. It's a binary. I don't even know why he has 4 points on these compasses because he only ever uses good and bad. So again, this just doesn't make any sense.
The class compass.
The power
This is the third
analysis.
way in which the left replaces traditional Western and Judeo-Christian categories of good and evil. Instead of judging people's actions by the same moral yardstick, that of good and evil,
Okay, wow. Because when you're 4 years old, good and evil are binary categories that things can easily put into. And if you just keep that for the rest of your life and you're always assuming that you're good because you're a Christian and everything Christians want is good because they're Christians and Christian is good, therefore, tautology. Well, yeah, but if you actually have to like think about, is this power held by rich people justifiable? Why is it that inherited wealth is, creates a system where a select group of people start off with massive advantages and everyone else starts off with a lot less? Oh, but if you think about good and evil instead of power analysis, then you don't criticize those kinds of hierarchies, do you?
The left judges people's actions based on their economic class.
See, he's got to lie. He's so afraid of critical theory. He's got to lie to you guys about what it is.
Rich people and rich nations are bad. Poor people and poor nations are good.
I'm just counterfactual. Bernie Sanders has 3 houses, and he's a millionaire. I don't hear the socialist people going around saying that Bernie is bad, even though he's a millionaire, right? Even though he has more houses than he can sleep in. All I get is, oh, yes, he lives in the capitalist system, so he's living according to the system of capitalism. But that's not in here. That's the easiest counterfactual I can give to prove that rich people and poor people don't have moral equivalency in a leftist critique, in a critical theory framework. It's about analyzing who has power and who doesn't, and how that power is exercised and perpetuated. How it came into being, how it's enacted, and then how it is perpetuated. Past, present, future. And looking at those points and saying, okay, are there places here we can intervene to make this more equitable? But equality, I mean, when you spend your whole life like Dennis Prager getting by because you're in the right group as opposed to talented or interesting or truthful or producing knowledge or doing, anything besides shilling for a power structure that's exploitative. I'm just going to let that drift off.
This began with Karl Marx, who divided the world by economic class, not moral behavior.
Yeah, because it was called an economic analysis. Yeah, he did class analysis. I know he wants to try to equate this with morality, but there's another step here that you need to take. We're not looking at the people inside and saying all X are good, all Y are bad. We are looking at a structure that is inherently unequal and criticizing it and criticizing the participants of it and looking at how to change it so that it's more equitable. And you would think that someone who is in favor of fairness and meritocracy would want to understand those inherent biases and structural inequalities so we can remove them to get a better, more meritocratous, is that a word? Society. Or maybe you just find it threatening because you realize that your money and wealth was not actually earned. That's it.
To Marx and to Marxism, good and evil is entirely class-based.
Again, this good and evil equivalence is just so Fisher-Price. Fisher-Price. That's a good, it's Fisher-Price. Did someone already say that? But yeah, this is what these are Fisher-Price propaganda videos. If someone in the chat has seen someone call this content Fisher-Price, let me know, because that does sound vaguely familiar, and I don't want to steal any. That's pretty much where we are. Fisher-Price, PragerU.
Good is defined as workers, evil as owners. That is the third reason for the left's hatred of Israel and of America.
Talk about the structures. Talk about the way that Karl Marx lived in an industrial society that didn't have a 40-hour week, that didn't have a minimum wage, that had child labor, that had no health and safety regulations, that could just fire you at will, that paid you less than poverty wages, that would maim you and then abandon you. Why don't you talk about that? Why don't you talk about the system that was in place that got Karl Marx to reflect on it, got people critiquing it in a systematic way, and you know what they did? They solved a lot of those problems. I mean, not the obvious structure, but in terms of unions organizing for a 40-day work week, health and safety measures, ending child labor, minimum wage, having some sort of retirement plan or pension for people who are injured or disabled on the job. I mean, come on. He just acts like, I mean, again, of course, what do you expect? He's a liar. All right.
They are both wealthy.
The United States has a lot of billionaires, but it doesn't mean the United States is wealthy or Americans are wealthy. Oh, God. This is such crap. It's such crap.
As fewer and fewer people perceive the world in terms of good and evil,
Wait. He's just said this entire thing has been about dividing the world into good and evil. That's all the left does, without citing a single person on the left or defining the left or defining liberal or showing any evidence whatsoever. Hey, I'm a Jewish white man. Again, I'm pretty sure he's Jewish. With an opinion, believe me. Like that's pretty much what he's saying. You know, accept my authority, don't question me. Because that's what patriarchy is for. Unjustified hierarchies.
Substituting a power, race, or class compass for a moral compass, you will inevitably get more evil and more hatred of the good, beginning with Israel and America and ending with Western civilization.
He wants to be free from any kind of criticism or self-reflection. That's what this is the grievance politics that white men and the patriarchy, men inside the patriarchy are advocates. I shouldn't just say men, because there's a lot of women who advocate for the patriarchy as well. That they don't want to be criticized. And so instead of thinking about things rationally, they just demonize and lie about their opponents. Because it's easier to lie about other people than it is to look at yourself. There's no need to hurt yourself for us. So I feel that I want people to have more tools to put these things into context. And the thing is that, there's a lot of this on YouTube. And I do this myself. Blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of opinions on YouTube. There's a lot of perspective on YouTube. And you might walk away from a show feeling that you know more current events. Like, I would hope that if you came to watch a happy hour with me and Kevin, also, screw him now. I'm done with my headphones. And let's not look at his face either. I don't know what we want to look at. Keep our videos free. I'm trying to just find. There we go. There's an unbiased, or at least a less of a propaganda image to look at. If you watch a happy hour with Kevin and myself, then I hope if you walk away feel like there are news items that you understand better, or you've learned about, or you're now aware of, or whatever. But you don't get any skills to help you navigate the world going forward. And I think that ultimately the biggest thing that I can do is do that thing that academics do. It's different from newsreaders. It's different from opinion piece content creators. It's it's more of the structural analysis that drives Dennis Prager crazy. You step back and you're saying, okay, what system is at work here? What are the commonalities I can find across this content? And how do I create a criteria to define what is standard and what is just, occasional use or whatever else? How can I apply an analytic framework that doesn't just react, but actually provides information on the thing I'm looking at? It provides information in a systematic way that other people can replicate or other people can apply to a different system. And so it's the system of knowledge production that I feel that I could bring to something like that. And that's why, I want to also, I started working on the social construction of reality, and then I got so busy at work. I'm hoping to, over the Christmas break, to wrap that up. But it's such a deep book, and it's really hard to make YouTube friendly. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking about doing. I would love to see some videos teaching leftists how to academically critique arguments like this. Okay, well, yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Is It would be kind of like a crash course in structural. I don't want to get too formal, like structural analysis, because then you might think about structuralism or something, which is not what I'm talking about, but something a bit more like, yeah, a series of logical fallacies, and look at what a logical fallacy is, and then watch a video and count all of the kinds of logical fallacies, or how they fail to hold themselves up to basic academic standards by citing their sources. Fail, 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 that kind of thing. But, right. So what time have we got here? Is it getting about 1 o'clock? Feels like it, but that might just be because, oh yeah, perfect, excellent. Yes, so let's see. Yes, deeper. Sean did one rhetoric tricks big brain with facts. Yes. Yes, exactly. So as I said, with Sean's video, how PragerU lies to you, he tends to, and it's not a criticism. Those are good videos, but I'm thinking of looking at it, like I said, in a slightly more systematic way, breaking down their tactics, rather than put out, it's over 2 hours long. Wow. Sean's latest video is over 2 hours long. Wow. I would want to, and okay, so on one part is that content. The other part is I've been doing for work a lot of studying up on how to communicate with people, how to use emotion, how to use visuals to reinforce learning. So there's some other things I want to also apply to this on a more meta level. I want to do a meta level approach to my structural analysis videos. So, they do have sources, but none of their sources say what they say in their video. Yeah, that's another good point of critique, is that they give you these so-called handouts. But the so-called handouts, sources in a quiz, it's complete crap. I mean, it's a complete and utter failure. And I know that they want this to be, used by homeschoolers.
Why does the left hate Israel?
Shut up. But honestly, if you, this is like a Carl video. It's just to get more money. Where's the content? Facts and sources. Israel has proven to be one of the world's most formidable nations. Well, that wasn't argued. That wasn't argued in the text anywhere. They never, that's not a contentious thing that they were saying. Israel has been a frequent target of attack by its neighbors. Okay, but that's nothing to do with the left's moral, these compasses that you're alleging. Terror, again, this is like poor Israel. And I'm not saying that things that, the terrorist attacks were sad, but this is nothing to, this is nothing to do with the content of the video. It's just basically saying Arab Muslims are bad and Israel is good. It is doing the thing that it is accusing the left of doing, equating moral superiority and judging people by their group identification. This is all, it's all about Israel. Oh my god, what is this crap? Honestly, you're gonna make a video saying first of all, it's how the left sees the world, power, race, and class, and what it really is a piece of pro-Zionist propaganda. Their citations and sources, their facts and sources have nothing to do with the actual content of the video. Crap. Utter crap. Hopefully your style can persuade some people to challenge their beliefs and can help us develop skills too. That's the hope. Is, again, with a framework, the difference between having an opinion and having a framework is that a framework is something that you can take to content and have a metric that you can compare to other things, or you can compare change over time. So that's, like I said, there's a good amount framework in terms of academic standards or logical fallacies or just certain things. What I need to do, unfortunately, is watch. So this is how it's going to work, I think. I'm going to need to do qualitative analysis, which means data-driven, ground-up, inductive approaches. And so I will probably focus only on their political videos because I want to be able to identify a pattern. And I think with their politics, one, they tend to do a lot of political videos. And two, you're going to get a more consistent application of their techniques within the same category. That's not saying it'll be definitive, because then afterwards you can take the structures that I pulled up from their videos and apply it to other non-politics to see how it operates in other areas that they want to do propaganda on. But it would just be about making observations in the data. And the data here is the text and the images. Also the kind of like emotional words or other things that they look at. And then finding ways of clustering that information. This is it's going to take a while. This is why people don't do it. And then there's clone myself. That would be great. I get so much more done. And then based on those clusters of observations, then kind of pulling them out and thinking about what underpins them. Why are they? What do they have in common? How can I link them to the world? And then working up a sort of like a model based on that observation, and then testing it by applying it to back to the videos. So you're taking it's sort of the it's induction and then deduction, or abduction, or iterative scientific method. But it's looking at the data, looking at observations, seeing how you can categorize it, then abstracting those categories and explaining how you got them, and then taking them into a new situation, new data, applying it, or retroactively applying it to what you've observed to see how well it does in terms of capturing the things that you are looking at. All right. You're so down for this. Well, wait, it's going to take a little while. So, but hopefully by the first of the year, I'll have something well underway. Because for 2021, I want to kind of pick up my edited video making again, because I won't be doing it for work as much. And I just can't make videos for work and then come home and make videos. It's just too much. All right, well, if you guys want to check me out or see me again, you can go over to Kevin's channel now, where the happy hour and his other content is sort of permanently hosted while we're in Corona situation. I'm generally Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays making appearances over on Kevin's channel. I'm here on Sundays, and I also am doing D&D on my D&D channel. So if you enjoy listening to people play D&D in the background as a podcast, you can go check out, I can show you the channel. I can't spell my own name. Yes, just the I then. Yep, there we go. And I've got a game coming up at 7 o'clock this evening, which is insane. Alright, so that's all the ways that you can see my content before this series comes out. See how that goes. And yeah, hopefully after COVID I can go to Wuppertal.
Why does the left hate Israel?
No, shut up.
On the surface.
Alright, Pet Dennis. Alright, guys. 1st January might be hard with D&D. Yeah, well, it'll be like built up, hopefully. I can have at least some categories to look at, or some initial videos out to start the series by the 1st of the year. Alright, you guys have a great Sunday. Thank you for your time and attention. Thank you for stopping by, listening to me babble. Thank you for enduring this PragerU video. I appreciate it. It makes it so much easier. And until next Sunday, I have been Christy. You guys have been awesome. Thank you again for your time and attention. Be well, be safe, and happy wherever it is, whenever it is. Sunday. Bye, everyone.